Hello everyone, welcome to my lecture on the topic types of elasticity of demand. Basically, types of elasticity of demand are classified into four types. One is price elasticity of demand. Price elasticity of demand. Next one is income elasticity of demand, cross elasticity of demand, as well as advertising elasticity of demand. So the respective representations have been written here. This price elasticity of demand is represented as ED of P. Income elasticity is ED of I. Cross elasticity is ED of X and Y, because cross elasticity will be applicable for the goods and services which are substitutes as well as a complementary, where we are going to deal with two different types, two different products, commodities. Next one, advertising elasticity is denoted as ED of A. Price elasticity of the demand. It refers to the quantity demanded of a commodity in response to the given change in the price. So it is always negative, because if P1 is a initial price, P2 is the increased price. According to the formula, this is the formula for calculating for price elasticity of demand, that is Q2 minus Q1 by Q1 whole divided by P2 minus P1 by P1. So here Q1 is initial quantity, P1 is initial price, Q2 is increased quantity, and Q2 is increased quantity, and P2 is increased price. So in the formula, it is P2 is higher than the P1. So the resulting ED of P, that is price elasticity of demand, will be negative. Even though it is negative, we are not going to consider sign and consider the absolute value to be a positive one, and assess whether the price elasticity of demand is elastic, inelastic, relatively elastic, or relatively inelastic, or unitary elastic as such. So the relationship between the price and the demand is inverse. So this is a formula used to calculate the price elasticity of demand. Now when we apply certain values, or when you substitute certain values for Q2, Q1, P1 and P2, the resulting value will be either 0, less than 1, or greater than 1, or equal to 1. So in that cases, we are going to interpret that the price elasticity, if it is 0, we consider it as perfectly inelastic. If the price elasticity is greater than 1, we interpret it as a price elasticity of demand is relatively elastic. That is how the interpretation will be done. The same thing will be applicable for the rest of the types of elasticity of demand also. So next coming is income elasticity of demand. It refers to the quantity demanded for the commodity in response to the given change in the income of the consumer. So it is normally positive, which indicates the consumer tends to buy more and more with every increase in the income. Right? So this is the formula for calculating the income elasticity of demand, where Q1 and Q2 are initial and final quantity demanded. I1 and I2 are the initial and the changed income of the individual. Now this income elasticity of demand helps us to identify the nature of the commodity, right? So the income elasticity of demand, a trader can estimate the likely changes in the demand for his product as a result of change in the national income. So income elasticity helps in knowing whether the commodity is a superior good, normal good, or a inferior good. If the calculated value of income elasticity is greater than 1, it is positive and it tends to be a superior good. If the elasticity of a demand for any particular product is positive and less than or equal to 1, it is considered as a normal good. If income elasticity of demand is negative, it is referred as a inferior good. Cross elasticity of demand. Now this cross elasticity of demand is change in the quantity demanded of a commodity in response to the change in the price of its related goods. So related goods can either be substitutes or a complementary. So cross elasticity is always positive for substitutes, negative for complementary. If it is zero, we consider that there is no relation between the products which we are considering for the purpose of a study, right? So x and y, we consider it as a substitutes as well as a complementary goods. So here percentage change in the cross elasticity of demand is equal to percentage change in the quantity demanded of the good x by percentage change in the price of some other good y. X and y can be substitutes or a complementary. So this is the formula for calculating the cross elasticity of the demand, where Q1x and Q2x are the initial and changed demand for the product X. P1y and P2y are the initial and the changed prices of the product Y. Advertising elasticity. It refers to increase in the sales revenue because of change in the advertising expenditure or the incurring of advertising expenditure. There is a direct relationship between the amount of money spent on advertising and its impact on sales. Never it will be, always it is positive, and never it will be negative. So ED of A is equal to proportionate change in the demand for any product divided by proportionate change in the advertising expenses incurred on that particular commodity product. So this is the formula Q2 minus Q1 by Q1 whole divided by A2 minus A1 by A1, where Q1, Q2 are the initial and changed quantity demanded, A1 and A2 are the initial and the changed advertising expenses. The next concept in this topic is factors affecting elasticity of demand. So these are listed out altogether 7 most important factors which will be affecting the elasticity of demand, right? Beginning with the first one, that is the nature of the commodity. Nature of the commodity, basically the commodities can be categorized as a essential commodities, comfort commodities, as well as a luxury commodities. So elasticity or inelasticity of the demand depends on the nature of the commodity, whether they are necessity, comfort, or a luxurious goods. Normally the demand for necessaries like salt, there is a small example given for you. The demand for necessities like salt, rice, etc. is inelastic. On the other hand, the demand for the comforts and the luxuries are elastic. Before we go on to the next type of next factor affecting the elasticity of demand, let us just understand. Elastic here refers to flexibility in the change in the demand. Less elastic means less change. Inelastic means no change. More elastic means more change. Right? So availability of the substitute, second factor. Elasticity of demand depends on the availability and non-availability of the substitutes. In case of commodities which have substitutes, demand is elastic. By But in case of commodities which have no substitutes, demand is inelastic. Variety of uses. Certain commodities will be having multiple usage, as well as there may be a limited number of uses. It can be used once or twice for one purpose or the another purpose. So in that case also elasticity demand will be ascertained. If the commodity can be used for several purposes, then it will be having a elastic demand. A small example here. Let us take a product, milk, as our product for considering its usage. So milk will be having multiple uses for a customer or for an individual. So when the prices are increased, less quantity of milk will be consumed. When the prices are decreased, more amount of the product is consumed, considering that it can be used for one purpose or the other. That is how it is considered. So it will be, the elasticity of demand will be elastic. On the other hand, demand is inelastic for the commodities which can be put to only one use. Let us take an example, a pen. A pen doesn't have a multiple uses. It has only one or when compared to the milk, right? So in this case, the purchasing of the commodity, even though the prices are reduced, you may not go for more number of buying of pens, isn't it? So that is how it is visualized here. Next one is amount of money spent. Amount of money spent, basically the portion of the income spent on a commodity. So consumer can either spend a smaller portion of the income, or he may spend a maximum portion of his income on certain goods and services. So if a customer spends a smaller amount of his income, for example, on salt and matchboxes, even though there is an increase in the prices without any, or decrease in the prices without any consideration of the price, he will be buying that two commodities, because the income spent on these things are very much less or minimum. Even when prices of the salt and goes back, demand will not fall. And in another case, if a high portion of the income, demand will be elastic. Suppose if he wants to buy a fridge or a car, then he can take or not take, or he can delay that particular purchasing of that particular commodity. That is how the amount of his income spent on the commodities will be giving rise to the elastic or inelastic demand. Next one, postponement of demand. If the consumption of the commodity can be postponed, it will have an elastic demand. On the contrary, if the demand of the commodity cannot be postponed, then it is elastic. That means without any change, with less amount of time frame available for the consumer, he will be purchasing that particular commodities, right? So the demand for rice or a medicine cannot be postponed, while the demand for a cycle or umbrella can be postponed. So in this, where the situation where you cannot postpone it, for that the demand will be elastic. For the one which you can be postponed, the demand will be inelastic. The time factor. Elasticity of demand varies with time. Generally, demand is inelastic during short period and elastic during the long period. Next one is range of prices. Range of prices is the price levels of the products. Price levels can be high, price levels can be low, as well as price levels can be neither very high nor very low. So in these three instances, for high prices, the elasticity of demand will be inelastic. For low prices also, it will be inelastic. Whereas for neither high nor low, the elasticity of demand will be elastic. Because it tends to depend upon the rational behavior of the customer in reacting to that particular situation, whether to buy the commodity or not to buy the commodity when the prices are the same. So with this, I'll end up the session here. Thank you.